INDYCAR returns after the Olympic break for their final few races of the season. Welcome to Worldwide Technology Raceway for the Bob Morado Automotive Group 500. It's time for qualifying to get underway here on the Oval. Hello everybody and welcome to qualifying for the Bob Morado Automotive Group 500. It's a Saturday race, which means it's all on the line. It's under the lights here as well. Chance of rain is increasing. It's a 2-lap qualifying as an average for a 500-mile race as well. It's going to be absolutely fantastic and absolutely thrilling. Let's cross over to INDYCAR Radio Network, who will take you through the session, and I'll provide the odd bit of information. Sunny at the moment here for the St. Louis 500.
6, 5,
Let's cross
4.
over now to the INDYCAR Radio Network for qualifying.
This is the NTT IndyCar Series. With live coverage of today's qualifying, this is the IndyCar Radio Network.
And the championship chase resumes, after a 3-week break. The NTT IndyCar Series back at it. And over the next 4 to 5 weeks or so, a series champion will be crowned. We are at Worldwide Technology Raceway. As you heard, in the shadows of the great city of St. Louis, Mark Janes, Davey Hamilton, Michael Young, Jake Query, Nick Yeoman, all set to take you through the next hour or so as we set the field. And Davey, just a single 1-hour practice session for these teams before they go qualify.
Yeah, how about that? And we've seen some really good speeds from 6 drivers, 5 different teams in that top 6. Pretty impressive. So teams seem like they have some information to be able to hand over. Now, unfortunately, it looks like the 2 cars going out first, which, I mean, Catherine Lake will be the first one, then Jack Harvey with Coin Racing, just didn't seem to find that speed early on in qualifying.
In fact, it is indeed Jack Harvey that is the first one to take laps, and Jack, of course, not in the race car because of some issues with his back and his neck. Boy, he was in a lot of pain, and I know a lot of folks very, very happy to see Jack Harvey back in the race car. He points it out of turn number 4, heads toward the start-finish line, and high atop turn number 4. More toward the front stretch as Nick Yeoman, we were going to bring you in to call some action involving Jack Harvey, and we have some.
Yeah, I wish it was Jack Harvey at speed down the front straightaway, but as soon as he came off of turn number 4, he pulled that car to the left side, and I thought, well, maybe he's just trying to really carry the speed and dart to the bottom of the racetrack, but that car slowed rapidly, crawled across the start-finish line, and now he has come to a stop about 50 or 60 yards to the exit pit lanes. So problems for Jack Harvey as that car has come to a stop. Remember, Mark, at Iowa, this car made 3 different qualifying attempts. This, though, appears to be a major issue. Didn't see any smoke out of the back of that car for Dale Coyne Racing, but a aborted qualifying run for Jack Harvey as he has stopped on the racetrack here on the front straightaway.
And that brought out the caution flag, and while we have an opportunity to do so, let's welcome in Jake Query, who will be talking to these drivers after they complete their qualifying runs, and Jake can give us the specifics on a typical summertime day here in the Midwest.
It is exactly that. As a matter of fact, Madison, Illinois, the location for the Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway here, just across the river from St. Louis, Missouri, and that means this time of year typically warm and typically a thick air. That is the case. It is humid indeed, but a little bit of reprieve that was not in existence for practice, I should say, for the Indy Next series. And I'm talking about a breeze that is flowing along here along the main straightaway, but it is not doing much to cool this track. 129 degrees is the average track temperature. 94 degrees is the ambient air. It is the humidity, the thickness of the air that is also a story with that, Mark, because the humidity inching towards 80%. So a very warm day here in St. Louis. But the good news is, as we talked about earlier, no chance really in the forecast of any precipitation. So any rubber that's laid down, any grip that might take place, especially with that outside line that we've been talking about that takes place later this evening in the practice session, should be able to stay and maintain for activity tomorrow, because Mother Nature is not going to do anything to try to hose that down and wash it off. So that's the good news. But a warm day here at Gateway, Mark.
We will work under the assumption that when that car rolled to a stop, it might have still been under power, Davey, because typically quickly. AMR IndyCar safety crew is there rapidly, but the car came to a stop just before the end of the pits along the front straightaway to the inside, and the AMR IndyCar safety crew is there now to retrieve that car of Jack Harvey.
Yeah, I think the situation, he must have heard something, and I don't see any fluid behind it, but maybe something made some noise or something just felt wrong with that car right off the bat, unfortunately, and as we talked about, Jack just come right to a stop and slowed the car down pretty rapidly. No smoke. I don't see any oil out of the back of it. They are going to tow him in, but he must have heard something or felt something going bad quickly.
Let's talk a little bit about this racetrack at Davey. Let's talk first about turns 1 and 2 that are awfully challenging. A lot of shifting, a lot of steering input through that portion of the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. The situation there is for just that is you run down into turn 1, heavy braking going down into turn 1, downshift a couple times, make that sharp corner, but you want to get on the accelerator as quick as you can to have a good run off of turn 2, which kind of sets your speed up for this entire lap, trying to get up through those gears back up to the top gear, going down that back straightaway into turn 3 and 4.
So turns 3 and 4 vastly different, and as you mentioned, if you look at the aerial shot of this, you'll see it is basically an egg shape.
Egg shape, that's right. So once you, like I say, it's so important to come off of turn 2, because when you get down to 3 and 4, it's bigger, a lot bigger, and you can get through that corner for qualifying. You hope to get through there wide open, and not easy to do that, not easy to get there wide open, but the fast guys will figure it out how to get through there wide open, and then you have so much momentum down this long front straightaway to really cut a time. And as we see, they didn't pull him on the warm-up lane. They're pulling him around right straight up on the racetrack. So obviously no oil out of that car. They would have taken him off to a shorter route to get back to the pit area, but they got him hauled down, and we'll just have to find out what happened there.
Jay Query.
Rinus VeeKay is walking along, getting set for qualifying here today as we have this pause due to the situation with Jack Harvey's car. But Rinus, I'll ask you. You got a chance to go out there, turn a couple laps. Your thoughts from the practice session, what you know, and what might have changed from this track from years past?
We had a good first practice here this morning, kind of sitting top 7 most of the morning. But no, it was good. Definitely different with all the downforce that was added this year compared to last year. So makes it a bit more comfortable, but also you really have to send it hard to match the fast guys right here. So no, it's tricky. It always is here, but it's going to be...
Which part of the track is the most tricky? Because, a lot of places in Indy, they'll tell you that theoretically all 4 corners are the same. Everybody kind of disagrees. That Iowa has a bump sometimes. What about here?
Turn 1 and 2 is where the time is gained or lost. But 3 and 4, if you don't get the balance right, the aero balance, it's a scary place to get a snap. I think you're really on the edge of being flat, and if you have understeer, that's decent. But if you lose, here the ball comes here to you towards you pretty quick. But no, I think turn 1 and 2 is where the most risk will be taken.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah.
That's Rinus VeeKay. Michael?
Now with Christian Lundgaard getting a little sun, you're pretty popular down here on pit lane. You're waving at everybody a big fan of you.
Yeah, Ben Christian used to work for us, so we know him pretty well. But yeah, just trying to sit here and get calm before the storm.
1 and 2. We just heard from Rinus VeeKay. He said that's more of the troublesome turns of this circuit. What say you?
Yeah, I think with the added downforce this year, I think 3 and 4 is pretty straightforward. 1 and 2 is really where the lap time is gained. So looks like the Andretti cars are pretty quick there. So we need to figure it out. I think we're one of the only teams that didn't test here. But yeah, we got some work to do for sure.
Feathering, or are you full out lifting in turns 1 and 2 to get through there?
No, you're lifting. I think it's minimal of how much you really need to lift. The added downforce this year makes it a lot easier. But at the same time, you need to trust the car to stick mid-corner, and I think the Andrettis have that sorted out. I'm confident that we're going to be a lot better than we were in practice, but at the same time, we also know a lot of the good cars have engine penalties, so we just need to get our work done and see where we can qualify.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
That's Christian Lundgaard, guys, here in pit lane.
And about those engine penalties, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou battling for the championship, Felix Rosenqvist, Davey, all those guys have 9 position grid penalties when we get to the race tomorrow.
Never fun when it's a track like this, which we know in history it's hard to pass. As he mentioned, the downforce are different on these cars, more downforce this year than in the past, and we'll see if that really makes for better racing. We won't know that till tomorrow, but in qualifying, like he said, 3 and 4 is pretty straightforward, but 1 and 2, you got to keep that minimum of speed up. You got to slow down as least amount as possible, and not easy to get that right every time.
Practice earlier today, David Malukas was the fastest at 178.830. Herta, McLaughlin, Power, Palou, the top 5. Connor Daly in for Augustin Canapino, 78 machine. Juncos Hollinger Racing points it out at turn number 2.
Yep, he is the super sub. 3rd race this season, 3rd different team. Ran at Indy with Dreyer Reinbold Racing, ran at Iowa for Dale Coyne. Now will drive this car, Mark, for the rest of the season. Connor Daly has that car right along the white line, exiting turn number 4.
And he exits turn number 4. He will put lap number 1 in the books, and as a result, see the white flag. First lap for Connor. Waiting on that time and speed report. It looks like 177.216 miles per hour, Connor Daly.
Car looked a little uncomfortable at the exit of turn number 2. He'll ease it into turn number 3. It's the familiar green and black colors of Juncos Hollinger Racing. Connor Daly from Indianapolis, Indiana, off of turn number 4.
Lap number 1 for Connor Daly, 177.216. Lap number 2, 177.036. The 2-lap average, Davey, 177.126.
Yeah, he was quicker than that in early practice, I think. And so not sure he's going to be satisfied with that. He had pretty good run early on. You know, I expect to see in the 180 mile now, 180 mile an hour average range. So don't know where that's going to land him at this point till more cars go out, but I don't know that he's going to be happy with that.
Ran in the top 10 for a while in that practice session, ended up settling in the 12th position.
Well, 12th position, there you go, yeah. So, I mean, and then that speed was, I think, off a little bit of what he ran just now.
So, again, as we mentioned, David Malukas was the fastest, then Colton Herta, then McLaughlin, then Power and Palou, the top 5. Grosjean, Rosenquist, Erickson, Siegel, and Kirkwood in the top 10. Some notable names there, Davey, outside the top 10 in practice today.
No question about it. And right now, one of the ones that actually look pretty good in the final practice. We've seen struggling and kind of the bottom of the chart somewhat, but right now, Stingray Robb on racetrack right now. Second car out to make a timed run. Obviously, the third one. The first one didn't get to make a run with Harvey, so we'll see what kind of time he can put on the board. But you know what? He was better than he has been.
Last 4 or 5, we'll see McLaughlin, Award, Herta, Dixon, Power, and Alex Palou, the final qualifier. Catherine Legg back in the car this weekend for Dale Coyne, Michael.
Yeah, but unfortunately, she doesn't have her fire suit on, and she's not out qualifying. Catherine, the reason being?
Not entirely sure, but we failed tech, and as you can see, the big line behind us, we wouldn't get back through in time, so disappointing, because I need every lap I can get around here. You know, it's just, I've never been here before. It's a unusual, unique, very cool, but unique place where both ends are different, so there's more time in me than the car right now. Having said that, we have practice this afternoon. So we will work on race pace, and we had a 9-place grid penalty anyway because of our unscheduled engine changes after Indy. So it is what it is. I'm sure they will be hard at work getting us out and getting us up to speed for this afternoon. Not sure what happened to Jack. That's disappointing too, but it is what it is, as they say.
All right, we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Not a tall mountain to climb. That's Catherine Legg, Mark James.
Lap number 1 for Stingray Robb, 172.483. Lap number 2 faster, 173.081. The 2-lap average, 172.782 to Jake Query.
I think it was at this track a year ago, maybe 2, where with Connor Daly, we went over all of the different fire suits that you've worn over the course of your IndyCar career. You add another one now in Juncos Hollinger, so I'll ask it figuratively. How's it fit? How's it feel?
Well, I mean, I think I know so many of the folks on this team, so it's really nice to return. And to work with Ricardo and to work with a lot of the technical team that I have a lot of faith in, and a lot of these mechanics as well that I know very, very well, is really nice. So to be back with Chevrolet, too, feels really good. And, I think I was okay. It was a good improvement for me from this morning. But, yeah, just a little bit of a struggle. The wind, I think, is causing some activity out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects everyone else.
We'll see if that wind is around, of course, later this evening when you try the outside line and then in the race as well. Connor Daly, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
That's Connor Daly. Mark?
Yeah, good stuff, Jake. Davey and I talked about that very issue with the ever-bulging fire suit storage unit for Connor Daly. But let's face it, I mean, he's on the short list of a lot of people when they need somebody to do exactly what he's doing for Juncos Hollinger this weekend. Veteran of the NTT IndyCar Series. Has had some really good runs here at Worldwide Technology Raceway over the years. We're talking about Ed Carpenter. He sees the green flag, Nick. He's already setting up for turn 2.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, he and Takuma Sato had a tremendous battle for the win. Ed came up a little bit short, but he is so strong on these ovals. That's a Chevrolet for the driver-owner, Ed Carpenter, already into turn 3.
Battle for him is to be able to get that car into the leader's circle payoff, and working very hard to do just that. Lap number 1 is in the books for Ed Carpenter. 174.708, setting up for the backstretch.
This will just be his 4th start of the season. Ran the Indianapolis 500 and then the doubleheader at Iowa. The race at Iowa, race number 2, ended in a spectacular crash involving one of our recent qualifiers, Stingray Robb. As for Ed Carpenter, line looks good, Mark, out of turn number 4. We'll see if it's fast for the driver from Indianapolis.
Stuck to the racetrack out of turn number 4, 174.708. A very consistent run off of 174.708, 174.796. The 2-lap average for Ed Carpenter sits at 174.752. Let's hear from Stingray Robb.
Stingray Robb is out of that 41 machine. How did the run go for you?
I mean, it was clean. We were just slow, and I think that was just conditions maybe. I feel like we had a much better car in practice, and I had a lot more confidence in the car in practice. It's just with the wind change, it felt similar, but man, I don't know. I'm pretty frustrated right now. I felt like we had a better car than that in practice.
The announcement this week that obviously AJ Foyt Racing next year will have, of course, Santino Ferrucci, then David Malukas added. Then people start playing the numbers game and wondering what it means for Stingray Robb. What does Stingray Robb say about it?
I'm wondering the same thing. So we're still working on our deal for next year, and we'll see how things go. But it's good to see David sign. I think this is a strong team, and we've gotten better all year long. And I think that we've done a good job to create a package that'll be even better next year.
Is it a pressure? I mean, does it psychologically, is it there?
I mean, it's always there. This is IndyCar racing. It's a tight field. Everyone needs to do their job every day. We're going to continue to do what we need to do and hopefully perform at a high level for the rest of the year.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
That's Stingray Robb. Mark?
Kiffin Simpson exits turn number 2. Nick Yeoman already setting up for turn number 3 as his run's underway.
Yep, this is the first of 5 cars for Chip Ganassi's stable. This is the driver out of turn number 4 in that blue and yellow machine. Kiffin Simpson enters this weekend 20th in points as he roars across the start-finish line and sees the white flag.
Lap number 1 is in the books for Kiffin Simpson, 173.781, already exiting turn 2.
Cayman Islands is where he calls home. Doing a nice job in his rookie season. A graduate of the IndyNext program, Kiffin Simpson already darts his way into the 3rd corner.
Jack Harvey's run was halted on his final warm-up lap. Connor Daly at 177.126. Carpenter at 174.752. Lap number 2, completing the run for Kiffin Simpson. 3rd fastest thus far, 173.900, making Stingray Robb the slowest of the 4, Davey, at 172.782.
Yeah, Stingray said not where he wanted to be and lost some speed. We've heard that a couple different times on wind direction, although it looks like it's the same as it was earlier, just a little bit stronger.
Let's hear from Ed Carpenter.
Well, Ed, the last time we spoke was in Iowa, and you weren't very happy in Iowa. Are you a little happier now, and what did the car feel like out there?
Not bad. Yeah, we're definitely in a better place than we were at this race last year. Be curious to see what it's like tonight in race trim, but, the team did a good job bringing us something better than what we had last year. Christian did a test here rookie day and did a really nice job getting us more prepared. And so I'm definitely much more happy and comfortable than I've been here in the past couple of years, and looking forward to practice too to see what type of race we're going to put on.
16-degree difference in that first practice to now. Can you tell on the track?
I thought it felt pretty decent with the changes that we made. So, I think with the way people are qualifying, everyone's trimming a little bit. It's really just going to be how you hit the balance.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
That's Ed Carpenter, 2-lap average, 174.752.
Yuri Vips is here with Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing this weekend. This driver, Pietro Fittipaldi, is hoping to be in the mix with Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing next year, of course, along with Graham Rahal. Nick Yeoman.
A lot of question marks for this organization and for this young man. His best finish this year, twice in 13th, so needs needs to start finding those results. The grandson of Indy 500 two-time winner Emerson Fittipaldi. Out of turn 4, here comes Pietro Mark to see the white flag.
That efficient warm-up lap at 172.930 bumped it up on lap number 1, Nick. 175.276 for Pietro Fittipaldi.
The nose and rear of this car are red. The cockpit where the driver sits in the side pods all black for the MyJack Honda for Pietro Fittipaldi. Already arcing it into the third corner.
And it washes up a little bit upon the exit, as they all have done. He's a couple of feet off the outside retaining wall, gets it back to the middle of the racetrack, sees the checkered flag fly. Second fastest of the 5 so far. Lap number 2 at 176.038. 2-lap average. I think they'll be overall pretty happy with that, Davey, at 175.656.
Really good run. Looked like he was able to keep the car low off of turn 4, telling me that thing had good grip down there. He's keeping it wide open, so good run for him.
Let's hear from Kiffin Simpson.
Connor Daly had mentioned that the wind was, quote, doing things out there when they were driving around. Kiffin Simpson, your thoughts? Take me through just the conditions, the challenge in that run.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I think conditions felt pretty similar to earlier. But I think we just had a little bit too much understeer, and I didn't do enough with the tools to compensate for that. But I think the car was pretty good, and we'll see what the times are like as people keep running, but hopefully we're in a decent spot.
Is it this humid in the Cayman Islands? It's warm here, right?
In the summer, yes, but in the winter it's nice and cool.
So this is a breeze, just like the one that just kicked up here along the straightaway. Kiffin, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Kiffin Simpson. Mark?
I grabbed headlines earlier this week with the announcement that he's moving to A.J. Foyt Racing next year, then grabbed headlines earlier today when he was fastest after the practice session. David Malukas points it toward turn number 1, and Nick Yeoman, this place has been kind to David Malukas. 2 starts and 2 podium finishes.
Yeah, some racetracks just gel with certain drivers. He's got a pair of wins in Indy next year. He did that in 2021, and then as you touched on, 2 stellar results in his 2 IndyCar starts. We'll see what David Malukas can do out of turn number 4. Fastest driver, as you mentioned, in practice earlier today.
5 qualifiers so far. Connor Daly the fastest at 177.126. Fittipaldi, Carpenter, Simpson, and Stingray Robb in that order. Pedaled it plenty on lap number 1, Nick Yeoman. 179.578 for David Malukas.
Got awful close to the wall at the exit of turn number 2, but he was carrying a lot of speed through turns 1 and 2 as well, and that is the most difficult part of this racetrack. David Malukas awful high off of turn number 4, carrying a lot of speed down the front straightaway.
Got awful close to that outside retaining wall on the final lap in practice earlier today, or the lap when he set fastest speed. He is the fastest now. He backed up a 179.578 with a 179.427. Davey goes to P1 at 179.503.
Really good laps, but he got out of line. You can see him way up in the gray. I mean, just missing that outside wall in turn 2 and in turn 4, both of them. So seems that car maybe has a little more speed in it, but a little understeer coming off those exits.
Michael Young.
Pietro Fittipaldi just finished qualifying. First lap, not as quick as your second lap. Found some speed. What was the difference between lap 1 and 2?
Yeah, I think it's just getting more comfortable with the car. We were a little bit out of the window. We were quite out of the window in practice, and just coming in, you have to go straight and push as hard as we can. We made some changes, and yeah, for sure we could have maximized more if we've been able to run this car in practice, but I think we made a good step. Like I said, didn't maximize it, but I think it was a good step forward from practice for sure.
So you continue those steps. Best of luck to you later today. It's Pietro Fittipaldi, 2-lap average, 175.656.
Latest to take the green flag, Linus Lundqvist, who points it into turn number 2.
Yep, he comes to us from Sweden, driving for Chip Ganassi Racing. We heard from his teammate Kiffin Simpson a little bit earlier. We'll see what Linus Lundqvist can do. He had mechanical problems early in the practice session, but Mark, so far, so good for the graduate of Indy Next.
Yeah, the left sides get just below the white line between 3 and 4, and that results in a wide arc out of turn number 4. Lap number 1 to the books for Linus Lundqvist, 176.805 as he exits turn 1.
Takes that familiar angle out of turn number 2, lets it drift up the racetrack, doesn't get nearly as close to the wall as David Malukas, but still carries a lot of speed down the back straightaway. Linus Lundqvist into turn 3.
David Malukas qualified just before him. He is the fastest of the 6 to attempt to qualify so far, 179.503. Checkered flag is in the air for Linus Lundqvist. Lundqvist, and he is fourth fastest, Davey. The two-lap average for him, 175.510.
Yeah, first lap, really good. Almost 177, but lost a lot of time. Dropped it from a 176.80 to a 174.23, so about 2.5 mile an hour slower on that second lap. Must have had a little bit of an issue.
How much are these drivers a little bit further back in line? How much are they interested in what's going on and what's happening, and what can they do to help them get faster based upon what these other guys have done so far?
Obviously they're watching, and a lot of them have teammates that they're going to pass that information on. If I'm just looking at it real quickly, it's like Maluka seemed like a little bit tight, maybe off of turn 2 and off of turn 4 to where maybe take some of that understeer out for his teammate Rosenqvist, but still a great run. But then, like we seen Fittipaldi, he said, "Hey, it's just confidence. I got to keep getting confidence, feel better with the car," and because he got faster on his second lap.
Nolan Siegel is the latest to go through the warm-up paces, and I think what we call this, Davey, for Nolan Siegel essentially is a paid internship.
Yeah, that's right. A paid internship really opened that door for when they got rid of Malukas and did some changing around that car and finally put Nolan in for a long-term deal mid-season, and seems like he's going to take advantage of it right now. His warm-up out of 172. Nick, you say he was on the limiter going down there in turn 1.
Yeah, that's right. That car was definitely against the limiter. That really negated some of the speed he carried into turn number 1. While he comes out of turn 4, we'll go back to pit lane and Jake Query.
And right on the limit in terms of all areas of the racetrack used was David Malukas on that run, because you went to the outside, you used all of it, got obviously a really good lap. Take me through, first off, just the weather conditions and whether or not that changed things over the course of your run.
Yeah, that's the one really hard part coming from practice to qualifying, is you're trying to anticipate the car for the weather change, but also with how the wind's going to be. And in practice, it was definitely a bit sketchy through 3 and 4. This time it actually helped us a little bit, and we managed to ease it up. And I think we did a pretty good job getting this set up to where it needed to be. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's very tough to do that.
Look, Meyer Shank obviously has given you a really good car, and we now know that next year it'll be with A.J. Foyt Racing. Is that awkward at all to go through the end of a year knowing that you're going from one team to the next?
No, not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, we signed with Meyer Shank to the end of this season, and we're going to go and try to perform as best as we can. And they gave me a really good car, and I think we have a good opportunity this weekend.
It's been a good track for you. Best of luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
That's David Malukas. Mark?
For Nolan Siegel, 174.991. Lap number 2, 174.778. Davey, his two-lap average, 174.854.
Yeah, just not quite there. I think he's a little tentative, around here right now. We'll see what his teammates do for speed. But it was a consistent run. He's in P5, but definitely not the speed he was looking for.
Let's go to Michael Young.
Well, Linus, the first lap was good, and the second lap had some fall-off, 2 mile an hour fall-off. Was there an issue out there with you on that second lap?
I did a mistake in turn 1 and 2, pushed too hard and then understeered off, so I had to delay back to throttle, which was a shame because, like I said, I think that first lap was okay. The second lap should have been almost as good, I think. Not amazing, but it's all right.
When you said you have understeer in turn 1, how far do you have to drive before that front end starts to grip back up?
I mean, it's funny because you have amazing grip on entry, and it kind of lures you in to fire a ton of speed in, and then you kind of get mid-off, and you realize that together with this wind, you realize that, maybe I should have done it the opposite way. But, it's how it goes sometimes, and we'll see where it sticks. But lap 1 felt good. Lap 2 could have been better.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
That's Linus Lundqvist, guys. 2-lap average, 175.150.
And we are watching the qualifying run of Graham Rahal. He exits turn number 4. First lap is in the books for Graham Rahal. 175.765, Nick Yeoman, as he heads towards turn number 2.
And Graham carries a little bit of momentum into this weekend. Had an 8th place run and the race number 2 at Iowa. Backed it up with a top 10 at Toronto. So the American from Ohio darts that car into turn number 3. Red and white car this weekend for the American Rahal.
175.765 for Graham Rahal, just like that, out of turn number 4. Lap number 2 is in the books. A consistent run, 175.800. Third fastest, 2-lap average, 175.782 to Jake Query.
Nolan Siegel, from the outside, it sounded like maybe you were hitting the rev limiters at the start of that run down the straightaway, but I'm not inside the car. What did you feel or hear?
Yeah, overall, that was a really pretty shockingly bad run. I accidentally pulled an extra downshift in 3-4, so I ended up in the rev limiter there on the last lap, and then I was in the hard limiter in 6th into 1 every lap. So overall, not maximized at all. So we'll be better in the race.
The car itself, though, obviously, and I give you some credit there for saying, hey, you know what, my bad on a couple of things there, but how was the car overall in the field?
I think the balance is good, and I think we'll have a plenty fast race car. We were plenty fast in practice, so just disappointed not to be starting further up the grid in what I think will be a track position race.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
It's Nolan Siegel. Mark?
Connor Daly teaming this weekend with Roman Grosjean, and Grosjean's qualifying run. We're in the midst of that right now. We have had 9 qualifiers so far. David Malukas, your fastest, at 179.503. Then it's Daly, Rahal, Fittipaldi, Lundqvist, 5th fastest. Then Siegel, Carpenter, Simpson, and Robb as Roman Grosjean exits turn 2.
Yeah, and his new teammate Connor Daly, who was the first car on the racetrack, his lap time holding up quite nicely, Mark, second on the scoring pylon. So we will see what the second of these 2 Juncos Hollinger cars can do, as Roman Grosjean is already through turns 3 and 4, about to see the white flag to complete lap number 1.
2-lap average for Connor Daly, to remind you, 177.126. How about Roman Grosjean? Pretty good first lap, Nick, 178.804.
Yeah, so these Chevrolets for Juncos Hollinger have some speed this weekend. Grosjean knows his way around Worldwide Technology Raceway. In fact, if I remember correctly, this is where he made his IndyCar Oval debut. Absolutely fell in love with the place. We'll see if he loves this qualifying run as he darts across the start-finish line.
Off the first lap of 178.804, a tick slower, 177.840, but Davey, he shoots to P2 of the 10 qualifiers. 2-lap average for Grosjean, 178.321.
Okay, yeah, interesting. There's debris on the front straightaway as well. Yellow for that, but really good run for him. I mean, he just a tinfoil. Somebody's hot dog wrapper got loose down the front straightaway, so nothing too major. But, he came in for the test, which obviously is an advantage to do, but got in the wall, so he knows what not to do. So right now, yeah, we'll see him come down the front straightaway right now. Pretty interesting, as you see him come across the start finish. I don't see the debris yet, but obviously he had to dodge that just a little bit. No real big deal. Won't hurt anything if they hit it, but he definitely have to go yellow, get it cleaned off.
Michael Young.
Well, I had time to visit with Graham Rahal before he went out qualifying. And Graham, after that run, and you talked to your teammate Pietro, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the car was pretty good, but we put a whole rear wing in it to just with that track temp. We thought, watching others, and maybe it was something to be beneficial, but I think ultimately maybe it cost us a tenth or two out there. But we did our best laps of the weekend, which is what you expect in qualifying. I just don't think it was quite enough. So we got some speed to find for sure. Balance, like I said, was good. But everybody's going to say that because after you get out practice with all the cars out there, you go out, now you got clean air. It makes life a lot better.
We talked to Nolan Siegel moments ago. He said and I think most of the drivers feel it's going to be a track position race. How do you most improve in that situation?
I told you it was going to be easy before, and I stand now joking. It's going to be...
For the record, he told me this is going to be easy getting to the front of the race, and I'm like, really? And then I realized the sarcasm of Graham Rahal.
Yeah, we got highline practice coming up, and I know that always is a challenge, but as long as everybody sticks to it, we can at least make it where it can get dicey for a minute. The biggest thing you struggle with a race like this is when the marbles begin to really pick up. It's very, very, very easily hit the fence if you get wide. So everybody gets nervous and scared to utilize that. But look, anything can happen at these races. We've seen it. We've lived it. Our guy's going to do a great job in the pits. I'll try to do a great job out on track. And, let's see what happens. It's each and every weekend, particularly with this hybrid, it's a learning experience. So let's keep our chins up, stay positive, and see what happens.
How many drivers really need to commit to that high line for it to come in and work?
Yeah, half, everybody needs to be utilizing it, but the aerodynamic disruption is really high, with this configuration, and the weight of the hybrid is tremendous. I can't, understate how important that is. It's there's a lot of mass behind us as compared to last year, and everybody's learning. Firestone's learning, Honda's learning, INDYCAR's learning. Everybody that's a part of this, it's a process, and we'll continue to get better.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
That's Graham Rahal. Let's go over to Jake Query.
178.321 was the 2-lap average for Roman Grosjean, coming back to the oval where your oval career began in the IndyCar Series. Roman Grosjean, oval specialist, right? That's a pretty good run.
Yeah, it is. I think we had to test here 10 days ago, and it went really well.
The guys did a really good job with the car, so happy where we are. Of course, there's always bits and pieces you could do better, but I'm happy with what we got today, and let's see where we end up at the end. For sure, we want to be qualified well. The race is going to be not so easy to pass, so be at the front will be a key.
On that run, did you more challenge the car, or did the car more challenge you?
I think the car was very good. I think I could have been a bit more aggressive inside of the car, but I'm still kind of a rookie on ovals, especially on the short track. We don't do that many per year, so I'm still learning, and I'm happy where we are.
I'm sticking with oval specialist Romain Grosjean. Appreciate the time.
I like it.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, good stuff, Jake. Rinus VK takes the green flag, and Nick Yeoman, he is a youngster in age only, because once you have achieved 75 starts, you are a veteran, most assuredly.
That number blows my mind, to be honest with you. And he's running on a bit of momentum. Only 2 drivers, Mark, have finished top 10 in the last 3 IndyCar races. One of them, Scott Dixon. That's no surprise. The other is the Dutchman, Rinus VK, out of turn 4. He's about to see the white flag.
And he does see the white flag as he crosses the start-finish line. Lap number 1 in the books for Rinus VK. 176.552 already exiting turn 2.
Makes a nice line out of turn number 2. Lets that car drift a couple lanes off of the retaining wall, then moves it back to driver's right to get that preferred angle into turn number 3. That green and black Chevrolet Fred Carpenter Racing roars out of turn 4.
Yeah, that lime green really pops off of the sunshine. He exits turn number 4 off of 176.552. Lap number 2, 176.771. 4th fastest of the 11 qualifiers for Rinus VK, Davey, 176.661.
Yeah, I think he'll be fairly happy with that. Obviously, they'd like to see him get in that 177, 178 range, I think would be, farther up that grid. But right now, I mean, they struggled here, as Ed said. They struggled here last year. He gained a little bit of speed. Cars seemed to be in a better place, but that 176.661, probably still going to be a little disappointed with it.
Armstrong, Rosenquist, Ericsson, Lundgaard, Ferrucci, Newgarden, Rossi, Kirkwood, McLaughlin, O'Ward, Herta, Dixon, Power, and Pillow. Nobody more uncomfortable right now than David Malukas, I think.
Yeah, well, when you're on top of the charts and the bunch of gunslingers are getting ready to come out, you don't want to ever get too comfortable. And he knows, hey, I'm there for now, but there's a lot of cars to go yet, so we'll just see if we can hang on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the speeds continue to climb as we work our way through this qualifying grid, as they start to take their positions and get ready to exit the pits. We see the green flag fly in the run of Marcus Armstrong. The 11 machine for Ganassi Racing set up for turn number 2.
I know we joked, Mark, about drivers wearing a lot of different fire suits this year. This 11 car has had a lot of different paint schemes and liveries. The American Legion on this car as well. So a red and white American Legion car for Marcus Armstrong. He is already in turn number 4.
Yeah, Marcus Armstrong, a very talented young driver, and hope to see him in the NTT IndyCar Series for the foreseeable future. He has shown his work plenty for sure. Lap number 1 for Marcus Armstrong, Nick, 176.312.
And he's another one of these drivers that are just feeling out these ovals for the first time and trying to get used to them and get up to speed. This is another Ganassi Honda as Marcus Armstrong gets to the bottom line in turns 3 and 4.
Good looking race car, primarily red and white, but plenty of blue accents to make it look really cool. Lap number 1, 176.312. A tick faster lap number 2, 172.082, Davey. He slots in 4th fastest of the 12 qualifiers at 176.696.
Jump by VK right there. Decent run for him. He might even be happy with that. I'm not exactly sure what he turned this morning, but I think he about equaled what he had this morning, or in the only practice they had.
Let's hear from Rinus VK.
Well, Rinus, what did you think of the run? Were you happy with it? It was pretty consistent, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with the run. I mean, it goes quick here, but no, I feel like we did the right thing on car setup and balance. I mean, some guys are really quick, but I think we're in a better position than we've been before. I mean, for now, we're looking pretty good, I think, and yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the 2 laps. They were consistent. I felt like I hit my marks well and kind of did what I wanted to do. So Yeah, I mean, seeing how it hangs in there, but for now, I'm pretty satisfied.
We'll see you later on this afternoon.
Thank you.
That's Rinus VK, 2-lap average, 176.661.
A lot of spoils that go along with being on pole, but Nick Yeoman, the run of Felix Rosenqvist is underway. The last driver to win from pole position, Elio Castroneves back in 2003. And Nick, only 3 drivers have done it all time.
It has been quite a while since we've seen a driver sit on pole and win here. Felix Rosenqvist, no stranger to pole positions in IndyCar, going to try to knock his new teammate, at least for the rest of the season, off of that top spot as he roars across the start-finish line.
Pretty tight exit off of turn number 4 and a fast one. 180.028 miles per hour for Felix Rosenqvist.
Yeah, Felix Rosenqvist flat knows how to stand on that throttle, and he is letting the right foot do all the work as he arcs it back into turn number 3, car 60, the second of 2 cars from Meyershank Racing.
The overhead camera view tells us that he does not get a lot of resistance, so that car's set up pretty well when he turns the wheel, Davey. Lap number 2, a tick slower, 179.654, but provisionally he goes to P1. Felix Rosenqvist, Davey, 2-lap average, 179.796.
I was figured we were going to see those 180-mile-an-hour marks, and it did happen right there. We had it on board with him, and you could see the shift lights, man. He hit that first lap perfect. The second lap, don't know if he lost a little speed off of turn 2. It cost about a half a mile an hour, but just no shift lights came on that second lap.
So he goes to the hot seat now, and we'll wait to watch Ericsson, Lundgaard, Ferrucci, Newgarden, Rossi, Kirkwood, McLaughlin, Award, Herta, Dixon, Power, and Palou. Let's hear from Marcus Armstrong, provisionally 5th fastest, Shea Query.
Provisionally 5th is Marcus Armstrong. Just looked up at the scoring pylon, and you continue to learn the ovals. Take me through your run on this one. What areas of this racetrack did you find the most challenging?
Yeah, this is the first time I've been here, so that's probably like my 17th push lap around here. Not making excuses, of course, but it's every lap I'm learning something new. Particularly on that first lap, I just underdrove it, so the car has a lot of potential. I think we'll probably see that with Alex and Scott, but yeah, a bit disappointed that I didn't push a bit harder. As I said, learning every lap, but it was okay.
It's not an excuse, it's an explanation, Marcus. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Marcus Armstrong.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, Davey, with his level of maturity, it's hard to believe he just turned his 17 lap around here.
Yeah, right. No, that's right. 17 up to speed and not easy to do. And I'm watching right now with Ericsson. Looked like he was a little bit high down there in turns 1 and 2, but still has a good RPM coming down this front straightaway right now with a lap of 178.346.
And already setting up for turn number 2, Nick.
Swedish driver on the top of the scoring pylon, Swedish driver on track. And these Andretti cars were pretty stout in practice. We'll see what Marcus Ericsson can do. Mark wrapping up his qualifying run as he's already darting to drive that car right out of turn number 4.
178.346 miles per hour the first lap for Marcus Ericsson. Lap number 2, 177.882, the 2-lap average, 178.114. Good enough for 4th fastest of the 14 qualifiers. Felix Rosenqvist is the fastest at 179.796. David Maluka second quick at 179.503. Then Grosjean, then Ericsson, then Daly the top 5. Armstrong 6th, VK 7th. Rahal 8th, Fittipaldi 9th, Lundqvist 10th. Siegel 11th, Carpenter 12th, then Simpson 13th, 14th Rob. Davey, a bit of a trend unfolding here where lap number 2 not quite as fast as lap number 1.
That's right. Some of them are not. We see right now fast lap in the fast 5 or the first lap, but then the next 4 the second lap. So it's kind of mixed around right there. You got to remember sometimes when you get the best on those tires, the best are best brand new, and if they get a little more heat in them, it could slow you down just a little bit more if that first lap's perfect. But now the ones that are faster on the second lap, I think that's confidence, just getting a little confidence from that first lap to drive the car a little bit harder.
While we watch the run of Christian Lundgaard, let's hear from Felix Rosenqvist.
Man, your fellow Swede almost ran you over there when he was coming in the pit lane. He had to run and catch you. Second lap, your first lap was fantastic. Second lap, the lights didn't come on for the shift. Did you miss a little something exiting too?
No, not really. I think it was just losing a bit of grip. I feel like I was pretty aggressive on my warm-up lap and aimed for that big lap for the first lap. And yeah, I think it went pretty steady. I had a little understeer on the first lap and just tried to make the right adjustments in the car. It's super, it's super narrow, the window you need to have here, especially 3 and 4 to keep it flat. So, but yeah, well executed run, see how long it lasts. You know, we have a 9-place grid drop, so we'll need every spot we can get here.
Still a nice job. Well done.
Thank you.
That's Felix Rosenqvist, 2-lap, 179.797.
And Davey, for Christian Lundgaard, lap number 1, 173.605 miles per hour. He's already coming off of turn number 4. So off of 173.605, lap number 2, 173.838, the 2-lap average, 14th fastest of the 15 qualifiers at 173.722.
Yeah, not going to be happy at that, especially when his teammates are about 3 mile an hour faster than he is right there. So they'll have to go back in and look at all the telemetry right now, just see why he's off that pace. But actually, he's more like 2 miles an hour off from his teammates. And with Ray Hall at 175.7, obviously Lundgaard at 173.7, so exactly 2 miles an hour. So still not, neither one of them great, but they'll have to go look at their telemetry.
Well, it's interesting, what his teammate Graham Rahal said when we talked to him a few moments ago, Davey. We wondered how difficult the decision-making was going to be with only the one practice session before you go qualifying. You're going to throw something in a car and it might not pass. I'm not saying that's the issue here, but it could be.
Yeah, that's right. And right now, we're watching pit lane right now, and they're changing wing angles right now. That's a good point that you had. They're changing wing angles. Everybody's kind of guessing on it. And our wing angles, our points leader, Pillow, they're changing the wing angle on his rear of his car right now.
It'll be interesting to see what the payoff is on that. And, of course, we think that information is in part due to the fact that a couple of his teammates have already qualified. Title sponsor name on this car, it's the car of Santino Ferrucci. Green flag flies as he points it into turn number 1, Nick.
And the game plan for AJ Foyt Racing this weekend, Mark, is to just keep all 4 tires on the racetrack. Stingray Rob flew in Iowa, and then Stingray Rob essentially said, hold my beer, as he took to the air in Toronto. As for this racetrack here, just outside of St. Louis, it is Santino Ferrucci darting his way off of the 4th corner.
14 machine off of turn number 4, a rather abrupt exit off of turn number 4. First lap is in the books at 175.543. We'll keep an eye on the run, give you the totals when Santino Ferrucci completes it. We need a first here from Marcus Ericsson.
And provisionally, Marcus Ericsson in his Delaware Life Honda is within the top 5. Question is, did you get the most speed out of the car, or did you leave some out?
No, I think we missed a little bit there. I had not the best balance. So, yeah, it was not the best to run. A bit disappointed with that. But the team has done a good job. We have fast cars here, so I think we're going to be strong no matter what in the race tomorrow.
This is the weekend, Marcus. I'm confident of it that you finally get good luck on your side. All right? We wish you the best of luck tomorrow night.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Marcus Ericsson. Mark, how did Santino Ferrucci look on lap number 2?
Off that 175.543, lap number 2, 175.485, Davey. The 2-lap average, 10th fastest for now, 175.514. He didn't sound really confident when we talked to him earlier.
Yeah. Well, one thing, car was consistent. I mean, obviously, that's about all the car had for this particular qualifying run right now. So they're going to go back, look at the telemetry, and try to get some more speed out for the race.
Warm-up last for Joseph Newgarden and Michael Young.
Ready to see the number 3 car. Christian, we talked before you went qualifying. We talked to your teammate Graham, and he said we threw something at it. Clearly, if that was the issue, didn't have the speed or wasn't what you wanted.
No, I mean, honestly, I would say the car actually felt pretty good. It just didn't really seem to be fast enough. The balance was pretty consistent. Just the speed just didn't seem to be there, which is a little frustrating. But, at this point, you just jump out of the car and you haven't spoken to anyone, so you don't really know what the real facts are. But, I mean, for me, the car seemed pretty good. It just wasn't fast enough.
See you later on tonight.
Thank you.
That's Christian Lundgaard.
Lap number 1 underway for Joseph Newgarden, Nick Yeoman.
And he is on it, down the back straightaway, already into turn number 3. He's got the PPG colors this weekend, blue and white, that, of course, multicolor splashes down the side pod. How does he look, Mark, out of turn 4?
179.796 is the 2-lap average they are chasing. That belongs to Felix Rosenqvist. He's flirting with that. Nick, lap number 1 for Joseph Newgarden, 179.492.
And he had a really low line through turns 1 and 2. In fact, had those left side tires nearly down on the red and white apron into turn number number 3. Line looks good again. Very, very low as he saws on that steering wheel off of the 4th corner.
Probably going to like lap number 1 all in all, 179.492. We'll see what he did to back it up. A pretty consistent run. Off that 179.492, 179.356, Davey. Third fastest 2-lap average for Joseph Newgarden, 179.424.
And one thing that for the in-car camera, we could see he was working his tools. As soon as he would shift up down that back straightaway, he'd reach down, change that front roll bar, soften it or stiffen up, whichever, then he would do the same down the front straightaway. So he was changing his car between corners, trying to get the most out of it.
Alexander Rossi going through the warm-up paces. Happy to see him back in the race car. Jake Query.
Santino Ferrucci, I'll be honest, at a track like this, I'm worried less about where you're going to start because you're one guy that I can see going outside. Question is it too early to know yet whether we can see Santino Ferrucci do Santino Ferrucci things?
I'll definitely have to tomorrow. I mean, we're just obviously struggling a little bit with the pace side of things. Wanted to definitely qualify a little further up the grid so I don't have to do as many Ferrucci things, but yeah, you'll see us on the outside of turn 1 tomorrow, so maybe 3 lanes.
We look forward to that. Be safe.
Thanks.
Santino Ferrucci.
And Alexander Rossi sees the green flag fly. Kirkwood, McLaughlin, Award, Herta, Dixon, Power, Pillow still to qualify Nick Yeoman as Alexander Rossi sets up for turn 2.
Yep, he rips that number 7 car off of the 2nd corner. An aggressive line into turns 1 and 2. That day-glow orange and white machine for Arrow McLaren. Alexander Rossi, the American, into turn 3.
Left sides touch that white line to the bottom of the racetrack at the apex of the turn, and he points it off of turn number 4 to the start-finish line. Lap number 1 of the books for Alexander Rossi, 176.101, already setting up for turn 2.
Took that car up against the outside retaining wall to get the good angle into turn number 1 and carried a lot of speed through the 1st and 2nd corner. Alexander Rossi into turn number 3.
Off of 176.101, Alexander Rossi pedaling it for all it's worth off of turn number 4. And let's see if he improved or maybe fell off a tick or two. Again, lap number 1, 176.101. Slower still, 175.629. Provisionally, Davey Knight fastest, the 2-lap average, 175.865.
Yeah, not terrible. He's right in the middle of qualified cars right now. 18 of them qualified. He's in the middle of that right now. They didn't show a lot of speed early on. Obviously, his teammate Siegel's been out. He's 14th right now, a couple mile an hour faster than him. So I don't think it was a horrible run for Rossi. Obviously, he wants to be on the top of the charts. But as long as that car has good balance, he should be content with a real good race car.
They're chasing Felix Rosenquist. Matter of fact, for now, it's an Allmeyer Shank front row. Rosenquist at 179.796. Malukas, second fastest at 179.503. Then Newgarden, Grosjean, Ericsson, the top 5. Daly, Armstrong, VK, Rossi, and Rahal through 10th. 11th fastest is Fittipaldi. 12th fastest is Santino Ferrucci. Then Linus Lundqvist. Then Nolan Siegel. Ed Carpenter, 15th fastest. Kiffin Simpson is 16th fastest. Christian Lundgaard is 17th fastest. And Stingray Robb with a 2-lap average of 172.782. The green flag flies for Kyle Kirkwood. Let's hear from Joseph Newgarden.
Joseph, we were calling your run, and you were down low, or we were calling you low in 1 and 2, and then Davey Hamilton said you were really using your tools. Was that to find speed or comfort?
Yeah, both. I mean, I was just, the one and the same around this track. You got to get, some comfort out of it, but then you got to get the thing to rotate in 1-2. So our car was really good. Just a little shy. It's tough when you're a little shy, but we made a big step from practice, so pretty happy with what the team did.
See you later tonight.
Yeah.
Joseph Newgarden, guys.
178.437, lap number 1. Kyle Kirkwood probably not happy with that Olympic break, Nick Yeoman, because he was on a tear prior to that.
Yeah, if his teammate Colton Herta wouldn't have traveled with him north of the border to Toronto, Kyle Kirkwood might have had a winning weekend. He ended up second in qualifying and the race behind Herta off of turn number 4. He'll see the checkered flag to complete his qualifying run.
178.437. That's about as consistent as you can be, Davey. Lap number 2, 178.397. Fourth fastest for Kyle Kirkwood. The 2-lap average, 178.417.
That's right. Good run for him, actually. After that final warm-up this morning, the only warm-up this morning, he was down in that 9th or 10th position. So I think that may be where he ends up, because we got a lot of fast guys come, including his teammates, Colton Herta. We expect him to, give a shot for the pole. I mean, obviously those two cars in front right now have Andretti technology for Alliance and a lot of setups on those race cars. So Colton, he's been fast, so we'll see what he can do later on. Right now, though, McLaughlin, he hasn't been up on the charts, but right now they made some changes on those Penske cars, as we just talked to to his teammate Newgarden, and we'll see what he can do.
Last year's pole sitter going to take a swing at it now. That's Scott McLaughlin, then Pato O'Ward, then Colton Herta, then Scott Dixon, then Will Power, and then Alex Palou. Again, your fastest qualifier, Felix Rosenqvist, 179.796. We'll keep an eye on the run of Scott McLaughlin after we hear from Alexander Rossi.
Alexander Rossi, on paper it looked like a good run, but you're the one that's in there actually turning out the numbers. How did it feel?
Yeah, I mean, we just got a couple of different balance. Like it's kind of just all over the place. So not great.
That seems to be a theme for a lot. Is that a condition thing?
I don't know, man. We were generally happy this morning. I wouldn't say we were thrilled, but like that was pretty bad. So I don't have an answer for you right now. It's disappointing. It's a very bad qualifying. It's our worst of the year, so we'll just have to address it, live with it, and see what we can learn for tomorrow.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks.
Alexander Rossi.
Scott McLaughlin, 179.960, Nick Yeoman.
That's a pretty stout first lap. We'll see if he can carry that speed through turns 3 and 4 and maybe knock those Myers-Shank cars off the front row. That red and white Chevrolet for Scott McLaughlin roars across the start-finish line.
Turning incredible laps in the 25-second range. And how about that? A 179.960, 179.983. He goes to P1. Scott McLaughlin, the two-lap average, 179.972.
And very, very impressive. And talk about a consistent run. Almost identical laps when we turn to laps 1 and 2. A little bit quicker on that second lap. Puts him on top so far.
Let's hear from Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, for Alexander Rossi, he said conditions, everything was all over the place. Was it the same for you? Is that your experience?
Not really, to be honest. I felt like we had an idea of what the car was going to be like going into it. We adjusted a little bit based off of teammates and probably went a little bit too far. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. It's a decent result. Obviously, we'd like to be a little bit quicker. A couple tenths would have been nice. But given the balance that we had, I think that was all right.
We'll see you at the practice tonight.
Yep, thank you.
This two-lap average of 178.417.
Scott McLaughlin sets the fast two-lap average at 179.972. Felix Rosenqvist still on the front row with him at 179.796. The run by McLaughlin bumps David Malukas back to the second row, where he's joined by Joseph Newgarden, Kirkwood, Grosjean, Erickson, Daly, Armstrong, and VK. The top 10 qualifiers for now. Solus qualifiers. Stingray Rob at 172.782. Pato O'Ward points it toward turn number 1.
He's finished in the top 10 of 7 of the last 8 races in IndyCar competition. 71 points back in the championship. Enters this weekend 5th in the standings. Driver for Mexico already shoots his way into the third corner.
Yeah, we talked about how hot Kyle Kirkwood was before that break, as Nick pointed out, and accurately so. The same can be said of Pato O'Ward. Comes off of turn number 4. Lap number 1 is in the books, 177.102 as he sets up for turn 2.
So he's going to have to pedal a little bit if he wants to get that car up into the top 5. If Joseph Newgarden's been the Oval King the last 5 years, Pato has been right there with him, chasing him. He'll be into turn number 3 right now. Picks up the throttle for that orange and black Chevrolet for Arrow McLaren. Here comes Pato out of turn 4.
Connor Daly was 8th fastest at 177.126. If you needed that as a point of reference, a consistent run for O'Ward. Daly, 177.102, 177.218, provisionally 8th fastest at 177.160.
He is the fastest of the 177-mile-an-hour cars, actually 177.160, as you said. He just, like I said, there's about a mile an hour off between the 177s and 178, so it's interesting. That spot in that 7th, 8th area, I think a lot could change there in the final qualifying.
Well, no reason to worry, Davey. I mean, it's just Herta, Dixon, Power, and Palou.
Right,
I worry.
Well,
so.
yeah, there's some they're definitely going to change up top somehow.
Yeah, and again, I continue. It's fascinating to me to listen to all the head scratching that's going on down there in terms of the setup of the race car.
Right, I mean, it's everything is so fine-tuned, and such little things make such a big difference sometimes. So it's impressive what they could do, and there's so many things to change. We see Colton Herta pull on track right now. This is definitely one to watch. He was fast early on. Those Andretti cars seem fast. We'll see what changes he may have made since his teammate went out, Kirkwood.
Let's keep an eye on the run of Colton Herta. He'll take the green flag next time by. Jake Query.
Scott McLaughlin, that was an incredibly consistent 2-lap run. You were fast in lap 1. What were you able to do to avoid drop-off in lap 2?
Car was just, I was holding on pretty good there, but the Dex 17 Printer Wagon's been fantastic. So we'll see if I can hold off these fast guys coming up. But, I'm proud. I love oval qualifying, man. It's just, you just absolutely send it, and it's just, it's the best thing, and this place is awesome too.
Obviously, you're going to be starting towards the front, if not up front. We wish you the best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
Scott McLaughlin, Martin.
Yeah, 179.972. Lap number 1 for Colton Herta. 179.909, Nick Gilman. And trouble in turn at number 2, and he backs it into the outside retaining wall, Nick.
He certainly did. He was right in the apex of turns 1 and 2, right where you'd be picking the throttle back up, and the rear end of that car spun around. It was a pretty decent blow. He's got that car continuing to roll down the back straightaway, but it damaged the rear wing and ruined what was looking like a pretty stout qualifying run for the driver who sat on pole and won at Toronto. In fact, Mark, I'll give Colton Herta credit. He's going to go ahead and finish off his qualifying run, get some applause from the fans as he'll see the checkered flag with that damaged Gainbridge Honda.
And he passed the safety truck that was out en route, getting around the race course, just in case he was needed, Davey.
Yeah, that's a situation. There's debris flying off his car, too, and as he's going around. So what that does, it just spreads debris around the entire racetrack. So probably not the best thing as we see. Gets into turn 1, that back end steps out, just looks like he got on the brakes. He did a really wise thing. He's a good dirt tracker right there. You stand on the gas, you fire it up, you try to keep the momentum away from that wall. He hit it completely backwards, which took the wing out, but the wheel is still straight. Now the gearbox is probably not going to be good, but really good job on just locking the brakes down. He kept that momentum, try to keep as much speed going the opposite direction of the wall. So a good recover, and he still hit the wall, but he did a good job by not hitting it very hard.
Let's go to Michael Young.
Yeah, Pato O'Ward, you were just out there before Colton Herta hit the wall. Was there anything out there in turn 2, or is it getting difficult out there?
No, I mean, it's very high commitment, and what you choose to do, you can't take it back once you're in the corner. So if you went a little bit too greedy, that's what you're going to get. So yeah, for us, I guess a little underwhelming, to be honest. We're right where we were in practice, so we're 8th right now. I'd probably expect us to either stay there or maybe 9th or 10th.
You were the quickest of the Arrow McLaren cars. Did Siegel and Rossi share information with you to allow you to make some changes?
No. We have somewhat similar cars, I would say. We haven't found what obviously all the Andretti cars and Penske cars have found. So, we've got some work to do.
If you have to gain, what end of the track would it be? Down in 1 and 2?
Man, the race is going to be a different beast. I'm hoping that we're going to give a good show to all of the fans tomorrow, because it seems a bit tricky right now with the second lane. So hopefully the second lane practice that we have a little bit later this evening is going to help rubber that in. And then, it's changed quite a bit with more downforce compared to the years past. So I think it'll be a challenge in terms of strategy and just something new for everybody, because it's going to change a lot of how you approach this race.
Since we have a second, did you watch the Olympics at all? Did you spend any time?
I tried to keep my phone away. I just tried to relax and get ready for this close of the championship. There's 5 more races and a lot of points on the table.
All right, if obviously you were aware of the Olympics happening, if you were to be in the Olympics, what competition do you think you would be best in?
Oof. Maybe tennis. I used to play tennis when I was younger. So I'd probably say tennis.
How about pickleball? It's just if you're going to throw something out there.
There wasn't pickleball for the Olympics.
No, I don't know if there's even tennis, but in any case, we wish you all the best. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
All right, that's Pato O'Ward.
And for Colton Herta of Andretti Global with Kerbag and JD, 4 top 10 finishes in 6 career starts. His best finish was 4th in the first race of the 2020 doubleheader, David.
Yeah, don't ever count him out, though. I've obviously had that contact qualifying. He's going to start in the back of this field. But that Andretti group, they've had that car fast. They're going to get in there and get it fixed, make sure, it's all ready to race again. And trust me, he never gives up, and they'll do a strategy play tomorrow, and who knows where he can end up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to start deep in the field, which means you may have to get a little creative. As we mentioned last year in terms of that pit strategy, Scott Dixon somehow, some way started 16th, Davey, was able to win this race, making one fewer stop.
Yeah, and then that's what they're going to do. They're going to do all they can to try to play the strategy and just kind of go opposite of everybody else.
Jake Query.
Colton Herta is out of that Gamebridge machine, obviously damage to the rear of it. Let's begin with that. What did lead to the contact?
I just got loose. On the second lap there, car just broke loose, rear went, and unfortunately it ended up with us in the wall. So it sucks. The car was good. I think that first lap was decent. I don't know if it was going to get us pole, but, it was a good first lap, and then tried to just go a little bit faster, and car wasn't having it, unfortunately. But, yeah, that one sucks. It's going to be tough to come from the back here, so we'll have to see what we can do. But I'm excited for night practice. Hopefully we can get this car going, get it back out there, and learn a little bit.
I know people appreciated the fact that you went ahead and completed the run. That alone is not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it was well received. We certainly wish you the best of luck in the race itself.
Thank you.
It's Colton Herta.
Davey, how much of the data will they pour over? Will they look at simply video or whatever? Because it sounds like maybe it might be a bit of a mystery as to what specifically caused that car to break loose.
Well, and I think what he said, he just tried to get a little bit more out of it, and it wasn't going to have it. I mean, he ran a really fast lap, a 1:79.90, and that wouldn't have put him on the pole, but it would have put him second quick. That was the second fastest lap that has been run, only to McLaughlin. So he knew that, if he can get that 180 mark, that maybe he could get the pole. Just tried to get a little bit more out of it. When you drive down in there, it just turned a little bit too much.
Is it just a matter of changing, when you say trying to get more out of it, are you changing the line somehow, or are you being how are you being more aggressive?
I think he just drove it a little bit deeper. Don't use quite as much brake. Try to get the minimum speed higher through that corner, and with the shift downs, just be, do them as late as you possibly can. And I think he just probably carried too much entry speed without having the exact telemetry. He said, you got to look at the telemetry, see what he did. But if he went in there just maybe a couple mile an hour quicker than the lap before, it just didn't want to hang on, and that back end slipped around. Now, as I said, unfortunately there's debris all the way around the racetrack. Now, he did complete that lap, which spread debris all the way around. It's taking a little bit of time to clean everything up. But I'll have to say this: he minimized that accident. If he would have just got on the brakes, it would have hit that wall much, much harder and came to a stop. But he was able to pick the throttle up in middle of the spin, try to keep that momentum. That tire spinning opposite of that wall is helping you slow that impact down.
Most of that debris came off of that rear attenuator, I think, Davey, the way it was shredded, and also that mount right where the rear wing bolts onto the rear of the car.
A lot of carbon fiber back there, and you can see a lot of that debris flying off right when the car hit. But as he goes around the track,
it looks like somebody pulled the arm of a slot machine.
Yeah, that's right. If you're good and lucky with a slot machine,
right. I've heard. That's right.
And as you can see, that wing fell back, did not fall off, but as he's going, there still is debris just going all over the racetrack, all the way around. And when he completed that lap, it just made it a little bit harder for everybody to clean it up.
Once upon a time, they used to talk about a pre-qualifying track inspection, Nick Yeoman, as a bit of an Easter egg hunt on the front stretch of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Give us a view as to what things look like off of turn number 2 with the safety crew out there looking at the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone from the apex of where Colton Herta initially lost traction and backed it up and hit the wall, now all the way to the exit of turn number 2, where he initially pulled away and would have laid the most amount of debris down on the racetrack. So you're right, and there's nobody that's happier about this track inspection and cleanup more than Scott Dixon, who's supposed to be the next car out of the racetrack. So the last thing he wants is any shards of carbon fiber or bolts to be out of the racetrack, potentially from car 26. So yeah, the AMR safety crew going to do a good job. In fact, we got a safety truck coming down the front straightaway, 2 going down the back straightaway. They're going to give this racetrack a good look over before we resume qualifying.
Just got to shout out Nick Yeoman from a talented young driver we've enjoyed calling over the past couple of years, listening to us in Charlotte. Killing him not to be here. Nick, how about a shout out from the talented young driver, Michael D'Orlando?
Yeah, how about that? We'd love to see Michael D'Orlando back in Indy Next by Firestone. Thought he did a really good job driving for that Andretti Cape team. So glad that he is listening, and we hope to see him back in a race car very soon.
Michael Young.
A big fan of Michael D'Orlando. With Barry Wanzer, whose driver Alex Palou goes last. You've had all this time to gather data. Do you second guess yourself, or are you happy with what you have on that car right now? right now?
I'm not sure we have all that time to collect data with a 1-hour practice, but certainly helps with the team cars running. But we're pretty satisfied. We'll see how it goes.
We heard a little bit. Davey Hamilton saw you guys adjusting that rear wing a little bit. Is it more of a calculated risk or a calculated, knowledgeable guess at what would make it faster?
Well, Julian made a decision on what he thinks the track will take. So we're going to see what we come up with here.
All right, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. Thank you for the time, as always, and we will know how your driver did in 3 drivers, so good luck.
Thanks, Mike.
That's Barry Wanzer, of course, calls a strategy for Alex Palou, our points leader here in the NTT IndyCar Series.
And those 3 drivers are significant, we would say, Davey. Scott Dixon, Will Power, and Alex Palou.
Oh, by the way, isn't that the top 3 in points? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see these last 3 drivers go and give it a whirl and just see where they end up. Now, we talked about, each driver, you could say, what great race they had, and then they had some bad races as well, but they're still battling out for the championship, making it exciting for all these fans. So, I expect them to be towards the top of qualifying here as well.
As the attempts start to click away, guys that can start to rest a little more comfortably, Scott McLaughlin wants to be on pole. He wants to go back-to-back, knows the spoils that go along with that. Rosenquist, Malukas, and Newgarden. But the other drivers, Davey, that feel pretty good regardless of what happens from here. Kirkwood, Grosjean, Ericsson, they're going to be inside the top 10 or 12.
Yeah, and that's what they're looking at right now. They're going, okay, we got 3 really fast guys going. We may be, like Grosjean says, I may be starting 6th, but then again, I may be 9th. So either one of those scenarios are pretty darn good. And same with Rosenquist and Malukas. They know they're in really good position right now. They know that there's 3, like I said, 3 really good guys. No matter what happens, even if some of these guys, 1 or 2 of them beat them, they're still in a really good position for tomorrow's event.
Nick Yeoman, but we will go through practice sessions and that high groove practice a little bit later on, trying to bring in that extra groove for racing tomorrow. But we certainly don't want to forget that we will qualify for tomorrow's Indy Next race a little bit later on this afternoon.
Yeah, and I think Davey and I were both somewhat encouraged by what we saw during that Indy Next practice session. Maybe not a full second groove, but we saw some drivers kind of move up there and use at least a half a groove, and that was allowing enough clean air on the nose of those race cars to kind of dice it up and make some passes down the front and back straightaway. Louis Foster, in fact, looked the most racy. I know you're going to be shocked by that, as he has won about half the races this year and looks poised to win that championship, but we're certainly looking forward to that. And that practice earlier today had a couple drivers at the top of timing and scoring that we're not necessarily used to. It was Christian Bogle, the driver from Louisiana, who was fastest, and then James Rowe, who was second quick. Neither of those drivers have won an Indy Next race in their career, so might we be poised for an upset win? Going to be interesting to see. But as you mentioned, we're going to go qualifying a little bit later this afternoon, leading right into that final IndyCar practice session, and then, of course, both of those races tomorrow. Got a Silver Crown race. The USAC Silver Crown Series is here at Worldwide Technology Raceway as well, so a spectacular weekend. And as we talked about, Indy Next Championship winding down. They'll be with IndyCar these last several weekends as well. Looks like Louis Foster going to be the champion, but certainly a lot of race wins and trophies still up for grabs, Mark.
5:45, in fact, local time. And then, of course, add an hour onto that if you were on the East Coast as we get ready to go qualifying a little bit later on. This race for that series, Davey, is as much about tire management as any I think I can remember in recent memory. I mean, we've had guys take off and try to hide at the start of that race, and boy, you get about halfway, a little over halfway, and if you've not taken care of especially the fronts on that race car, it's a struggle.
It's a struggle, and that's right. They have to take care of the tires. Now, one thing that they're saying that the DEG has been really good. I mean, we'll wait to find out because there's a long ways until you do it, until you're in that part of the race to see what the pace is going to be. You got to keep the speed up. You got to keep taking care of your tires, and that's no matter what kind of race car you're in. You got to take care of your tires towards the end of these events. And Scott Dixon is able to pull out. They got the track clean. He's on track right now, Mark.
Got that PNC bank machine roaring up the straightaway toward turn number 3. Scott Dixon, last year's winner, an improbable win, as he often does, left a lot of people scratching their head wondering how he and his crew was able to pull it off. Green flag flies for the Iceman on a hot day at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
And just a reminder, both Scott Dixon and his teammate Alex Palou will be slapped with 9-spot grid penalties, so no matter how this qualifying run goes, still going to have his work cut out for him. We'll see, though, what that speed is for the driver of that PNC Bank Honda. Scott Dixon already out of turn number 4.
It's deja vu all over again because suffered the same fate 1 year ago and started from that 16th position and still found his way to victory lane. Lap number 1 of the books, Nick, 177.712.
So pretty good for Scott Dixon. He saws on the steering wheel at the apex of turns 1 and 2, carries some speed out of that second corner. It's a blue and orange car with some white accents for Scott Dixon, one of the drivers for Ganassi Racing into turn 3.
And again, that 177 range settles in around 8th, 9th, or 10th. We'll see what he did on lap number 2 off of 177.712. He picked it up a bit, 178.098. The 2-lap average, 177.905, Davey. He'll slot in at 8th, but add 9 to that.
Yeah, that's right. He could be starting about where he did last year. Is the bottom line. He's going to be back almost. He's done it. He's won from there before, but trust me, these other teams, seen what he did last year, they're probably going to keep a close eye on him, not to let him try to do that again. So he will be starting back a little ways. We'll get the final lineup once these final 2 drivers qualify.
And there's Will Power and your points leader, Alex Palou. Scott McLaughlin is who they are chasing at 179.972 miles per hour. Felix Rosenquist on the front row for now at 179.796. Malukas, Newgarden, row number 2 provisionally. Then Kirkwood and Grosjean. Erickson and Dixon in row number 4. And completing the top 10, Pato Award and Connor Daly with 2 qualifiers remaining. One of them is Will Power. Power comes off of turn number 4 and sees the green flag as he points the Verizon machine to turn number 1.
Enters this weekend second in points, 49 markers behind Alex Palou as we kind of bear down on the championship ending race in Nashville about a month from now. As for the driver of the Verizon Wireless Chevrolet, 2 wins on the season. He's the qualifying master. Will Power into turns 3 and 4.
Scott McLaughlin among those, the interested spectators watching the run of Will Power as he comes off of turn number 4, crosses the start-finish line. Lap number 1, 179.038 for Will Power, 179.038.
Chasing after his teammate Scott McLaughlin, trying to knock him off the pole. Will Power working on those tools down the back straightaway. Now both hands grip the steering wheel as he shoots it into turn number 3.
2-lap average has got to be better than 179.972. Got to pedal it off of turn number 4, off of 179.038. Consistent run, 179.486, lap number 2, but not fast enough. 5th fastest, in fact, Davey, the 2-lap average, 179.262.
Yeah, still a really good run right behind his teammate Newgarden and I say McLaughlin. He's on the top, so his Penske cars definitely all 3 in the top 5 found some speed from this morning's practice.
And again, the final qualifier is Alex Palou. And Palou, another one of those with a 9-position grid penalty. Let's hear from Scott Dixon.
Scott Dixon is another of those with the grid penalty. And Scott, looks like a solid run for the PNC Bank car, but does the mentality in terms of how much you push change at all when you know you have that grid penalty going into it?
No, man, you're always flat out trying to make the most of it. We had a really rough first session. We had some really big balance issues and didn't really get to run our 2 qual sims. So going into that, we kind of copied what the 10 had done because he'd had a pretty solid session. But you just don't know what you've got. So that's the hard part of going into qualifying as a driver. But, kudos to everybody on the PNC Bank number 9. The car was pretty solid. Obviously, we would have liked to have gone faster, but we got what we got.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks, man.
Scott Dixon, Mark, and that's kind of a theme, Davey, as we talked about, just that in terms of a lot of people talking about the balance, trying to find the balance on this track in these conditions. Been tricky even for the best, like Scott Dixon.
Alex Palou, your final qualifier, points it out of turn number 4. His run is underway. Lap number 1 in the book for Alex Palou. And it is 178.260, Nick Yeoman. So the celebration could most likely begin for Scott McLaughlin.
Yep, the only question is where will Alex Palou cycle out? He's finished top 5, 10 of 12 races so far this season. That's why he is the INDYCAR points leader. It was a high line through turns 3 and 4 on lap 1. Pretty high in turns 3 and 4 for lap number 2. Here comes the points leader across the start-finish line.
Again, lap number 1, 178.260. A consistent run. Lap number 2, 179.038. 178.467. The 2-lap average, 7th fastest, Davey, at 178.363, giving the pole for the second year in a row to Scott McLaughlin at 179.972.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty good run. We know that he's not going to start there because of the grid penalty, but how about that? Scott McLaughlin again with a great run. How close? So 179.972 to a 179.796. Pretty impressive.
Michael Young.
With Will Power, and Will start on the inside of row number 3. Overall, your cars are very quick, but in race conditions, how are you going to feel come tomorrow night?
Yeah, we'll see this afternoon or tonight, the night practice, see how it is, full fuel and traffic. Yeah.
Did the car feel good? We had a cloud cover, and it really cooled off, or it felt like it cooled off in that qualifying run. Was that more like it was in that morning practice session?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, car felt similar. Yeah, it was pretty good. Just a couple of little misshifts and so on in there.
All right, best of luck. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you.
He'll start on the inside of row number 3. That's Will Power.
Catherine Legg will roll off 27th. In row number 13, it'll be Colton Herta and Jack Harvey. Row number 12, Lundgaard and Robb. Carpenter and Simpson roll off in row number 11. In row 10, Linus Lundqvist, Nolan Siegel, Pietro Fittipaldi, Santino Ferrucci in row number 9. Row 8, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, row number 7. Armstrong and VK, O'Ward and Daly roll off in row number 6. In row 5, Marcus Ericsson, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Roman Grosjean in row 4. Will Power, Kyle Kirkwood in row number 3. Malukas Newgarden in row number 2. Felix Rosenqvist, Scott McLaughlin on the front row. The folks at Juncos Hollinger have to be awfully pleased with their two drivers, Davey, 8th and 12th.
Really good job, and they may move up a little bit with the pit. They'll be farther up with the grid penalties.
So, Scott McLaughlin, Felix Rosenqvist will make up your front row. And again, they'll do highline practice a little bit later on this evening, around 6:45 local time, in fact. And then they will get a final practice session. And I get the feeling for a lot of these teams going to be a pretty hefty checklist during that practice session.
Yeah, and what's supposed to be is a second groove practice session. Try to stay up in that second line. It's not a lot of time, but we'll see how that works out. We'll go down to Jake and talk to Palou.
Alex Palou has a new sponsor on the side of that car, Samaritan's Purse International. But we know you qualified 7th. You're going to have to start 17th because of the grid penalty. Scott Dixon said that your car had a pretty good balance through the practice session. Did it carry over for you in qualifying?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the greatest of our qualifyings, but it was good. I mean, P7, obviously, we know we're going to start a bit further back with the penalty. But, anyway, the car's been good. Obviously, we have a little bit of work to do, but fortunately we have a highline session practice too, or final practice. So looking forward to this afternoon and tomorrow.
We appreciate the time, Alex.
Thank you.
That's Alex Palou. Michael?
Yeah, we're with the pole sitter. He'll be bringing the field down tomorrow night. You become quite the oval specialist to get the poles. Finally got that breakthrough win at Iowa. Trivia question, I don't know if you heard us talking about it. The last time a pole sitter has won here at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
I'm not good at trivia, man.
Former Penske driver a long time ago.
Former Penske driver, Elio Castroneves?
2003.
Wow, really? Oh, let's bring back a bit of the old Dayglow Team Penske vibes, right? But no, I'm very proud of the group here, the Team Penske groups, to roll out here. We didn't test here. Will came out here with Chevy and tested a little bit, but it was nice to roll out here with a pretty fast car without too many laps and keep the mileage off too.
How did it feel compared to last year? Has this track changed a lot for you?
A little bit, especially with the hybrid, but I always enjoy this place. I love how you got two different race corners. You got 1 and 2 here is tight and twisty, and you got to try and really get off. Got to get a run off the turn 2 to get a run down the back straight, and then it's just hold it flat the whole way through 3 and 4, and that's a blast as an INDYCAR driver, and I'm really proud of the chance to put this thing on pole.
Overall goal for this final practice, what is it for you?
Just get a good balance of the race car. Absolutely, we know what we've got as a qual car, and we focus on that, but we'll just go through in and out laps and figure out things so we know we're prepared for tomorrow.
No one has won the pole since 2003, and Elio Castroneves. Will it be Scott McLaughlin? What say you?
I think so, and I hate that stat, but I'm going to change it.
Attaboy. Congratulations, Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah, good stuff. Michael Young, Jake Query, tremendous insight all throughout the course of this qualifying session. And plenty of racing yet to come, folks. Plenty of activity for sure. Mindy next, another IndyCar session, and, of course, Silver Crown a little bit later on this evening. We hope you folks can settle in and enjoy things here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. So congratulations again to Scott McLaughlin, your pole sitter for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. This is Mark James saying so long for now from Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Well, thank you very much to IndyCar Radio for taking us through that one. Scott McLaughlin, Felix Rosenquist, David Malukas, Joseph Newgarden will power the top 5. Remember, penalties are coming the way for a number of the field as well. So there is still a lot to be decided and a lot to go into. We'll be back for the final practice. That's coming away 12:45 a.m. British Summer Time as well. The stream will be on shortly. And tomorrow, myself and Jackson will be in the commentary box ready to go for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 as well. It's going to be a late one here in the UK. So please do join us here on JB Motorsports. Thanks for your company in qualifying. We'll see you later for the final practice. Take care. Bye-bye.